welcome back. I have a special guest. Millie's here to read with us. Hope you guys are having an awesome day and enjoying lots of fun activities on these glorious summer days. I'm so excited to get back into our book. We know that this next chapter is going to be pretty exciting and dynamic. I hope it's not too exciting for Millie. She is excited to read with us. The sugar. Thank you. And we know this next chapter is called An Eruption of Violence. I wonder who's going to be violent. Do you think it's a volcano? Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's see. You ready, Mills? They sailed back largely in silence. So now they're going back after this big conversation with the Sphinxes to the city of scholars and docked the next morning at the quay. The first thing Irian did was make her way to the library. Her face, Millie likes this book. Her face was set with concentration. There must be something somewhere about the immortal that we can use. What about us? Said Moll. Where should we go? She picked her nose and inspected the snot on her finger and ate it. Very interesting little detail about Moll. Moll, that's disgusting, said Christopher. I saw you pick your nose yesterday. I didn't eat it. Then you're just disgusting and wasteful. At least I'm only disgusting. Can't argue with that. Nighthand was watching them, eyebrows high. Don't move from the boat, he said. I have some old contacts who hear gossip other people don't. I'll seek them out, see if they've heard anything about the immortal. Ratwin will do the same. We're coming too, said Moll. No, you're not. These contacts are not people you'd enjoy having tea with. Ooh, sounds scary. They waited until the berserker was out of sight, then exchanged a glance. Do you think Moll and Christopher are going to be staying on the boat? Millie, do you think they're going to be staying on the boat? I don't think so. Do you think, if we're quick, we didn't actually say we would stay? Let's find something to eat, he said. Can't live on snot alone. They bought 3 huge slices of pillowy white sponge cake. One for Gallifin, and ate them walking through the streets, past shops, selling bread and fruit and fish. We were right. They are not staying on the boat. And then down a silent side street next to a canal. The cake was soft as velvet, but Christopher's mind wasn't fully on it. Are you here? This is our favorite way to be held. Moll, he said, if the Sphinxes can't tell us where to go, what are the other ancient creatures who could remember something? You said dragons are thousands of years old. So to see a sweet little face as you go night-night. Is there any way we could speak with a dragon? That would be cool. I don't think dragons have much to do with humans, said Moll. Gallifin took a mouthful of her cake. They're so old and so wild, they barely think about humans. I think we're like ants to them. But the glimmery affects them too, he said. He hesitated. The Nereids, they said something about you and the glimmery. That was... I could be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure the Nereids were the creatures that were close to mermaids that they encountered underwater, and they kind of, the Nereids kind of helped Christopher, I think, when he was drowning. Hopefully I remember that correctly. She was instantly alert. What? It was difficult. There was so much sea and only parts in English. Come on, tell me, Christopher, she said. But he was interrupted by a terrible scream. He turned to see a boy grabbing at Moll's arm, hauling her sideways. It was one of the 2 boys who had been waiting with the fortune teller. She lashed out and the boy swung at her, full in the mouth. Gallifin launched himself into the boy's face, and Moll smashed the heel of her palm into his nose. Oh, dear. As he reeled back, Christopher tackled him around the chest, and the boy dropped, roaring, to the ground. They barely had time to breathe before the second boy came out of nowhere. He grabbed Christopher's hair and, holding it, used the grip to punch him in the head. The shock took the breath out of Christopher and he went limp, but the boy held him up and punched him again in the neck. This is terrible. Why are these boys lashing out with such violence? Oh, this is so sad. Mal stood with her back against a wall, winded, trying to catch her breath, staring down at the first boy. There was red on the pavement, and it seemed to have been coming from her lip. Christopher saw it, and his whole body turned hot. What does it mean when your whole body's turning hot? It's kind of a fancy way that Katherine Rundell is telling us that he's feeling really, really angry. Probably super afraid, too. I'm shocked. He has no idea what's going on here. He reached up and embraced the second boy, hugging him hard so that the blows were smothered between their chests. Then he bit down hard on the boy's nose. The boy roared and tried to pull away, and as he did, Christopher kicked his ankle so hard they slipped from under him. Mal moved away, Gallifin in her arms, making retching noises. I'll jump on your ribs next time until they break and stick into your lungs. Ooh. He felt his own face. He would have a black eye. What do you want her for? The boy spat, but said nothing. Christopher's body was no longer red hot, and he was no longer wanting to inflict pain. His head was buzzing, and there was blood in his mouth, but he lifted a foot back as if about to kick again. No, the boy muttered, something that sounded like, Sir Tal. What? The first boy tried to get up. Don't tell him. Christopher was breathing hard through his nose. He felt sick rising in his throat. Tell me, or I'll make it much worse. The boy groaned. She's the forgotten one, isn't she? Our mother. She saw it in her palm, didn't she? Christopher remembered the fortune teller and looked at Mal, who was vomiting on the pavement several feet away, scowling. Forgotten what? And then a thought, a pin-sharp, unacknowledged thought that had dogged him since the Kraken had lifted Mal onto a piece of driftwood, made him say, the immortal? The lost immortal? So my friends, it's Mal. Mal is the lost immortal. But I don't know if you guys are confused like I am. Why are the boys attacking her if she's the immortal? Why don't they want her to understand who she is? There's a man, Cavill he's called, this big blonde one with that bruise on his face. Oh, is that the murderer? Looking for her, and he's offering money, real money, change everything money. He says she's the immortal. Our mom says it too. But how does Cavill know? That's not our business, is it? Said he was working for someone. Before he could ask more, the other boy had dragged his brother up. They ran for it, and Christopher didn't have the strength to stop him from going. He reached Mal just as she finished vomiting. I hit him in the nose, she said by the way of greeting. I think it's broken. How did you know how to do that? I don't know. It just came to me, and he was scared to touch me. He had to force himself. Christopher opened his mouth to tell her what the boy had said and then shut it again. Not here, not now. Can you walk? Yes. She stood up wincing and dusted the dirt from her hair and tried to smile. Can you moors the point? I don't know. I think that's some sort of boat reference. I'm not quite sure exactly what that means. Can you moors the point? Maybe can you use a smaller boat to get to where the larger ship is? Because she's not really able to walk that well. Look at this sweet baby that has fallen asleep. Christopher, Millie is a very sleepy puppy. This is like her favorite thing in the world, just to take a little nap with me. Christopher ran his tongue along his back teeth. Nothing was broken. Yeah, let's get back to the shadow dancer fast. Now we have a section in the book. You can see there's a little bit of space in the page, and then there's a capital letter that's bolded and a little bit larger. So when we see something like that in a book, what does that tell us? What is the author telling us? She's telling us, as you guys know, either the setting is changing, the characters are changing. We're still within the same chapter. There's a little bit of a shift. So we'll just kind of have to pay attention once we start reading this next chunk, what shift has happened. Maybe some time has passed. Let's see what's going on here. He didn't tell her what the boy had said until they were back at the boat. Okay, so this shift, this little break in the page is telling us that some time has passed. We're still with Christopher and Moll, but also something that has changed in addition to time is the setting. So now they were in the village, now they're back on the boat safely, I hope. Safe on board, indeed. Sitting on camp chairs and feeding Gellifen a handful of prawns. The immortal, Moll said. She spoke lightly, but the strain in her voice made it sound high and thin. Everyone's obsessed with the immortal. Immortal this, immortal that. Believe me, I would know if I was immortal. But that's the point. You wouldn't, said Christopher. A great ball of tension, of the mad possibility of it, was rising in his chest. He thought of what the Nereid had said, of the way that Gellifen breathed in her scent, of how the way between had opened exactly when she needed it. The thought filled his chest with chaos. That's an interesting emotion to be feeling when your chest is filled with chaos. Something like panic, burgeoning into something like hope. That's what the Sphinx said. Saying it's me, it's like saying I'm a centaur. Knowing the secrets of all humanity isn't something that you can miss about yourself. But you wouldn't know. And those boys. He tried to say more, but she just kept on scowling. Please, Christopher, don't tell me you'd believe a fortune teller over me. They made their money from stupid little lies and from idiots who believe them. Thankfully, griffins are immune. She picked up Gellifen in her arms. His growth was more obvious than ever, and his hindquarters overspilt her arms. Going to make Gellifen take a bath. You can help. He tries to eat the soap, and then he farts bubbles for days afterwards. Do you think that's what Millie will do when we give her her first bath? Look at these cute ears. Fine. But not if you're going to keep talking about that. Oh, then no. She looked fleetingly so hurt that he thought she would weep. I can't, Moll. Listen. I don't want to, do I? And she left, and he stayed, staring out at the dock. The thought of what had happened took up so much of his chest that he was barely able to breathe. We have another break in the page, my friends, where there's some space, and first letter of the next word is bolded and a little larger. So again, we know time is passing, setting is changing, or the characters are changing. So let's see what happens here. That night, in his cabin on the moored boat, Christopher fell asleep. So again, just like on the other page, we've had some time that's passed. Now we're in the evening. But around midnight, he jerked awake with the force of falling. Have you guys ever had that happen to you before, when you're falling asleep and then all of a sudden you wake up because you felt like you were falling? It's kind of a common thing that happens to us when we're falling asleep. For a moment, he did not know why his whole body was tingling with shock. And then the word that had risen in his sleep came to him, a word that had been hovering at the edge of his brain, just out of reach. The knowledge was like a siren filling the room. It winded him far harder than the boy had done. Oh, sorry, not winded. It winded him far harder than the boy had done. So I read that and I was thinking, it winded him? And then did you guys notice how I kind of took a moment and I was trying to make sense of it? When it didn't make sense, I went back and reread the sentence so that I could make sense of it. That makes sense. So the Christopher got winded when the boy punched him, and now he's feeling winded again, and he's not quite sure why. He went to find Moll. She was sleeping in her tiny cabin under the griffin bedspread. The ceiling was painted with flying dragons. Moll, he shook her. Wake up. She was understandably annoyed. What? She said, bolt upright. Is it Gellifen? But Gellifen was safe next to her. This is like my little Gellifen, right? Go back to sleep, Christopher. It's the middle of the night. It's important. Wake up properly before I tell you. She rubbed at her face. Fine, I'm awake. I'm up. What is it? Your name. From your neighbor's trance. Mayhem. It's Latin. It's really tiny words. I don't know if I'm saying it right. No, it's malum. It's Latin. I know, I told you that. It means mischief. She smiled a sleepy smile, her fringe plastered against her forehead. We've achieved that, haven't we? The thing is, Mal, malum has two meanings. So, it also means apple. There was a silence, long, stunned. He watched as comprehension overtook her, flooded her face, which grew pale and rigid, and then into the silence came a whirring sound. What's that noise? Christopher said. He moved towards Mal's coat. The whirring was coming from the pocket. She snatched it from him. Don't touch that. She held the caspasserin in her hand. It was spinning faster and faster, rattling in her palm as if it might break, whirring loudly, and then, as Irian and Nighthand appeared at the door, faces anxious, it suddenly clicked and came to rest, pointing due north. It's pointing to the first tree, said Christopher. It's pointing to the heart of the Glimmery. I told you, it's the immortals' first home. So much happening in this chapter, my friends. That is the end of our chapter. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for the next chapter, which is called Malum Apple, which we know is the name that was given to Mal. Mal is short for Malum. And now we know that, or we're reminded that Malum means mischief, and it also means apple. So I want you to think about the importance of the meaning apple as they are getting closer to, I guess they didn't really know that this was their destination, but as they're getting to the heart of the Glimmery, as they're getting closer to the tree, I want you to think about that image of the meaning of Mal's name, apple, and what exactly how is that significant? Why is the meaning so important? And I also want you to be thinking about, is Mal going to kind of embrace her identity? Is she's taken this potion, or her ancestors took the potion that made her forget, and I'm just kind of wondering, and I bet you are too, what is it going to take for her to remember who she really is? It's such a beautiful book. I'm so happy that we are reading this together. I am excited to read more with you. Stay tuned for our next chapter, and we'll see if everyone's getting closer to the heart of the Glimmery. Say goodbye to Millie. Sorry she fell asleep, and I'll see you guys soon. Love you.